Hello, welcome back to Synchronic Saturdays with Meghan and Crystal.
We're back.
And I'm sorry about that little hiatus that was not announced nor planned. But I suggested to Crystal, actually, if we create a lot of these and then wait so that they are more consistent. And then she said, no, let's post this one today so that she has a reason to keep doing it. So that was her commitment. She just said it. And so
it's really hard to commit to like doing one thing consistently. So
yeah, I feel like that's very FI of you to be like a very this is my commitment. I want to do Synchronic Saturdays, put it up there so that now I feel guilty later.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because I think FI users, the way they like get themselves to do things consistently is like sort of through a pseudo guilt system through TE, because otherwise their FI can be lazy and not do shit, which is why, TJs are good because they'll give you deadlines and they'll say you have to.
And I don't do that. I don't ever
myself into doing things. You still want to.
Anyway, like that's why this podcast / video series has sort of died out, is because a lack of rules, a lack of consistency, but both of our FI's hearts are in it again. And so we're back. And we're here to talk about extroverted sensing. And I apologize. I'm dog sitting my parents' dogs, so if they're barking, sorry. Can you hear them a lot, Crystal? Okay.
Yeah, I can.
Very SE of me to notice. Right?
I would never apologize for anything in my external environment, which is what I noticed when, whenever I so I can
that's because I feel like I can control the environment.
Yeah, I feel like when I observe SE users, they'll be very aware of the external environment and comment on it. And for SPs, it seems like they'll just react to it, and NJs will be talking about it. For example, I went to a bar with my INTJ friend, and her SE isn't super strong, but she was just hey, you're in the way, or hey, those people are sitting on that chair already. Why are you hovering you're about to sit down? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm just what is spatial awareness? I don't even know.
Oh my God. Okay. And here's another SE thing of me. Hi, I'm Meghan. I'm an ENFJ in case you don't know me. This is Crystal. She's an ENFP if you don't know her. That's another thing of me. I just forgot to say.
I'm bitch, you know I'm an ENFP just by looking at me. Be that's an ENFP and the radar. And SE is everyone, the intuition is hidden because SE is connected to NI. So they're I'm going to announce what I am, the space I occupy in this world. And I'm that's so weird. You're taking up so much in space. Even NTJ.
Another announcement, if you are new to this show, this program that we have, pretty much we're going to just be talking about extroverted sensing from both of our perspectives. And since she's an ENFP and I'm an ENFJ, we both have different cognitive functions. And so the way we do this show around here is that I, as an SE user, I will speak for SE because I use it. And then she is going to show me sort of the assumptions and the reactions that people that don't have SE might have. And then I might have the opportunity to defend myself on an SE point of view. Oh my God,
this is so SE because is that what we're doing?
Yeah, exactly. I'm realizing it's also very SE to set the stage, make sure we're all on the same page.
Okay. This is not how I envision it a certain way, but okay, now I know.
Dude, you your face is red. You're losing it. Is this funny to you or something?
Yes, it is.
This is also very SE of me to point out.
It's about SE. Also, SE, you can notice my face is turning red because I was double take. Oh, I am turning red.
I feel in your brain you're just meta. You're just thinking about how SE it is, and then it's just going over again.
Literally, the blood rising is because of my awareness of the SE coming into awareness.
Oh.
No, but others man, this is so SE. I can't right now. But anyways, okay, wait. I want to talk about how as an NP, not living without SE is something we don't even realize.
Yeah, before you get into that though, side note, INTJ, shout out to INTJ Alex, who's in my Facebook group, joined my Facebook group, Personality Type for Self-Growth. But she said something funny to me earlier about how she dated an INFP who would hold her hand too tight when they held hands, and she was like, "Why are you squeezing my hand?"
What am I doing? What do you mean?
And it was like, that's like SE sort of blind spot, like not knowing how you're exerting your force.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I think NE users can like tune out, like, okay, well, this sounds dangerous, but sometimes when I'm driving, I'll like forget I'll like zone out for a sec and like be on autopilot. And like every time I tell an SE user that, they're like, "What? That's so dangerous! I would be so aware the whole time that this is a car and I'm on this earth." And I'm like, "I'm on this earth?" Like, it's like literally. I noticed that a lot of NPs, when they discover like cognitive functions, they're like, "SE? What? What is the like?" It's so weird to me, because I think anyone with better SE has an understanding of how we're different. Whereas as an NP, before I knew about typology, I literally thought everyone saw the world as I did, with like all these intuitive things just hanging out in the open.
Another thing though is that, just as you say that NPs might be like, SE, what's that? I think that a lot of SPs think that they're intuitives because when they read the SE description, it sounds so boring and basic. It's just so natural to them.
NP wrote it.
Yeah, it's just so natural to them that they don't really understand, like, okay, you're saying I use my 5 senses, like, and like, don't we all? Like, that's like, can be confusing too from the SP perspective.
Like, I'm like, I think I use my 5 senses. They're just very dulled, is what I've come to like think of it as. Okay, like for example, like if this thing like fell like suddenly, I would like hear it and then be like, wait, that's happened. Like there'd be like a delayed reaction, and I noticed that SP's like, "Oh shit," and they get up and they clean it up, and I'm just like, "Oh, that happened. What? I didn't see that coming." And like that's kind of an example.
That's
of that.
funny because I'm dating an INFJ, and the way that SE works for INFJs, it's their inferior versus my tertiary. I will do things like slam a door or like walk too loud, and then she'll be like, "Babe, oh my god, like what was so loud?" or something.
For me, when you do that,
like more aware of those things, like as a perceiver first.
Yeah, see, but for me, my 8th function, I'll hear it and I'll be like, and be like too afraid to also use SE to equally loudly yell at you for doing that, which is what I've noticed. Like, I'm like, "Jess, wow!" Like, it's still SE to like yell at someone for using bad SE, and I'm like, please don't.
And it's funny how SE can interact, like depending on where it is on your slot, because like for us it was like I slammed the door going into the apartment, and she was like, "Babe, people might be sleeping," and I was like, "Yeah, but we live or not we." I was like, "You live here too, like we have the right to shut a door." I don't know, like the way that my SE is, it's like I'm living, this is the sound of life, and that's what you get when you're in an apartment. I don't know.
Don't apologize for taking up space, because even with like an inferior SE for an INJ, they still aren't like I feel like NPs can like kind of shrink back a little bit and like be afraid to like speak up in some regard, or be afraid to like cause too much noise and like things like that. And it's interesting because my SJ family members, they don't use SE consciously, but they still have a better wielding of it. They'll like be careful and attentive, but they won't have this like almost like apologetic like attitude toward SE. Like, I just fucking hate when people talk.
Do you think that NG? Do you think NJs have an apologetic attitude toward it?
No. I was saying like, I think
NPs.
I think it's only NPs, because I think like NJs are aware of SE, but they're not gonna be afraid of it in the same way I think an NP is.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of an example.
And another thing to clarify, again, I'm coming in with my SE setting the stage, is that we are sort of using a combination of Myers-Briggs and socionics. And so that's why if you hear Crystal say things like, "Oh, like SJs use some SE," if you're new, you're like, "Wait a minute, I don't use SE," or whatever. That just means like in socionics, it's a more valued, stronger function.
So. Yeah, like relatively, SJs have more SE than NPs, not like.
Yes. Doesn't, yeah.
Yeah. So. I feel like SE users are always, like, they under-explain what NE feels like they have to because of their SI, and they over-explain what SI doesn't feel like. Like, it's so interesting to me because
Because would you agree that an NP or an SJ, like if you didn't explain that, then they would just like have to figure out for themselves like what system you're using or whatever?
Yeah, they would, but I wouldn't even realize that without explaining they would have to do that, because I didn't think of that. And you explaining it, I was like, why is she over explaining? And then once you finished the explanation, I was like, oh, that's why she was explaining. Yeah.
I explain those things. I think that's SE because it's also sort of my FE, but it's sort of like I know that everyone listening is not going to be on the same page. And so I'm always like, I use SE to try and get everyone on the same page.
Yeah, it's interesting because I always assume people are on the same page naturally because of my NE. I assume everyone's using like the same functions as me, and some kind of subconsciously I think everyone should be able to see what I see, should be able to like think what I think. Like my NE is like anything's possible, and SE is like there are limits to how reality works, and it's not just all like a free for all of possibilities. And yeah, like it can be kind of rough sometimes because I think this is my reaction to SE, and why I think I haven't tried to learn as much about it is because I think it cancels out my magic, so to speak. Sometimes SE users will be like, that's just not a possibility. And this is like good when I'm like freaking out because of bad possibilities, but it's kind of bad when I'm trying to like be creative and use like good possibilities. Like it seems
the whole word possibility in general, I don't think means the same thing to SE and NE users, because like I think SE might focus way more on probability, where they might seem like they're saying it's not possible, but they're not saying it's not possible. They just aren't really focusing on it. Because, for example, like the world can shift into the fifth dimension and aliens could come down literally right now. Like I believe that could happen, but is that something you should be focusing on all the time? It's not, might not be as probable.
Oh, so you're saying it's possible but not probable. So SE is just like gonna shift focus and not focus on stuff that isn't that probable.
Yes, I think that in some senses, NPs think that SE is shutting them down, saying like, oh, your dreams aren't possible, when really they're just focusing on, they are wanting to help you shift onto what is more probable. But at the same time, I think that SPs find a lot of things to be more possible than NPs. Like, for example, an NP might think, oh, well, it's so unlikely for me to ever be famous because I'm just me or something, where an SP might like try and be famous because they're like, well, they did it, so why can't I do it? Like clearly it's possible because they did it.
And E goes in extremes where it super believes in everything or super believes in like literally everything is nothing. And SPs can kind of be in the middle by being like, like if someone did it, it's possible, but like probable you have to like climb up to like earn
that. Makes me think about how the whole idea of having an example is very important to SE users, especially SPs. Like if they see somebody else being represented doing something that they want to do, then they're going to know it's possible, and that's going to be like very, very powerful.
Yeah, it's taken a long time for me to realize, and I think becoming friends with more intuitive SPs who care about NI was
clarify what do you mean by intuitive SPs?
Oh, so basically people that use SE as like their main like function, but they value intuition like as a principle, kind of like basically like people who would be called sensors according to typology, but who like really enjoy using their NI, like kind of how I'm an ENFP, but I enjoy using my TE. So you call me that kind of thinky.
There isn't really a great word for intuition, but it would be like saying Crystal's an intellectual, even though she's a feeler.
Yeah, like someone who's perceptive, I guess, is an SP. Like becoming friends with them, they've actually really helped to validate a lot of things. I think when I'm really scared, they'll tell me what's probable and what's not. It's almost like they can sometimes work with my very like limited SI to like kind of tell me at what point it blends into like actual like reality you can see, and at what point it's not a thing. Like, for example, like I'm always like joking, like one day the sun just might not rise. And because I like fear that, I therefore fear a lot of things. And it's interesting because SPs can almost be comforting by being like, well, the sun might not rise. We don't know if it's going to, but what's probable is it's done it up until now. So you can like rest assured that some things are reliable. And I'm like, okay, I'll keep that in mind. Thanks. And without SE, I think NE can get stuck in a black hole of thinking everything is possible or nothing is possible. It doesn't really know how to moderate when it like fears certain possibilities or when it like is like kind of delusional. It's interesting.
What I've noticed about NFPs, and I don't know how NTPs would do this, but it's like you entertain the possibilities that your FI cares about, either because you're afraid of them or because you really want them. More so than you entertain the ones that might happen or might not happen.
Yeah, and oh my god, STPs are definitely good at entertaining like the sensory possibilities, I like to say, of what they can get, what they can't. Like it seems like they're always doing things, STPs, and I like never do anything except in my brain. So then I'm like, wait, I'm not doing anything? Wait, nothing happened? Because in my brain everything happened. Versus STPs, like who are my polar opposites, seem to do, and they don't seem afraid of doing at all because they know what's doable and what's not, and I don't. So then, therefore, I don't do anything.
I almost feel like for NPs, whether or not something is likely to happen really doesn't matter when it comes to how much energy and thought are you going to put into it. Now, I don't know if that's what you guys think, but like that's how it seems from my point of view.
Yeah, well, we wouldn't be aware enough of ourselves to like think that, but I guess you could say we expend a lot of, like, I know so many SE users who are like bodybuilders and love working out and are athletes, and I think the equivalent for NE is we're always like overthinking and always like using our creativity and like things like that. And it's like SE is like a parallel, but in the opposite way. Like it like operates in the realm of like the sensory. So like I see like a lot of like SPs being super good at sports, and like they just can like sense when the ball during like a sports game is gonna like land.
I think it's because they inhabit their body in a different way, and they SE identifies with being a body, and so that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be good at sports, and it doesn't mean that NPs aren't good at sports, but they have more of a emotional connection or attachment to being in the body.
Yeah, every time I'm like, when I watch sports games with SPs, they'll like be zoned in and they'll be like, that ball's gonna land this way, and I'm like, how do you know that? And then it does, and I'm like, what? I'm like, how? And they're like, it's almost like I was
it's the laws of physics.
Yeah, they're like, it's almost like I was the ball, and I'm like, what? And that's weird to me because like I'm an intuitive, and I'm like, I think about like possibilities and stuff, but I don't like identify or have a connection with like inanimate objects the way apparently like, because my friend who is an STP, he once said, because he like really like wants to develop his NI, he was like talking about how when he plays sports he feels like he's one with all like the sensory things going on, and I'm like, that's so weird because I can barely get myself to like eat a healthy amount of meals a day. That's how disconnected I can be from my body, and I think that's my inferior SI, but SEs are going to have this problem.
If anyone wants to know why NI always seems like the sort of fortune teller sort of function, it's because it's compared to the SE and it knows where that energy is being directed. Now, I hate sports, and so I can't go watch a sports game and know what's going to happen to the ball, but I just watched this freaking reality TV show, Are You the One? I watched the whole thing, and I was just like, oh, no, they're about to make out. Oh, no, they're about to break up.
Yeah. Okay, this might get a little rated PG-13 now. But when it comes to when it comes to like hooking up and like things like that, like I'll literally be like, yeah, I know, I'm like blushing talking about it because my dad SE is like, oh shoot, I just spilled a secret that I'm.
If you are under the age of 13 and if you don't know what we're talking about, just turn off the video now.
What is SE announcement? But see, I'm like, whoa, I'm like not accepting that the SE is that I'm like 23 and obviously I have like, well, not obviously, I guess, but like likely, probable is I've kissed boys or whatever.
Oh.
Yeah,
well,
see,
now the things are getting dirty.
Megan's using SE to like mock how like.
I don't want this to be demonetized.
No, but like I'm I'm like qualifier. I'm not a like. Anyways, whenever like a boy
attention PSA Crystal Juan has kissed boys. All right.
Oh my god. Whenever a boy like wants to kiss me, I'll like always like not see it coming. Or like my NE will be like, do they want to? Or maybe they're just looking at me weird because of something like I won't know. And like, it's funny because when I tell my SE user friends, they're like, it was so obvious. And I'm
the
like,
vibes. Yeah, like
what vibes are you talking
it's all about the vibes.
No. And like the way I tell stories of like hooking up with people, I'm like, next thing I knew, I somehow ended up in this situation. And everyone's like, we totally saw this coming. How did you not? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, and like so many times I've like tried to hook up with someone. It was in my head. I tried to, and they're like, what did you do that was trying to? Is what my SE user friends say. And I'll be like,
this next thing I knew thing that she always tells herself, I feel like is a very good example of bad SE, because you don't know how like actions and energy one leads to the other.
And bad TI. It's like both.
Okay, yeah.
Because I'm an NFP guy. I feel like NTPs are kind of better at not being surprised by next thing I knew.
I feel like this is sort of an extreme case though. Like most people, even NPs, can sort of figure out like those sort of things.
Yeah, because I'm super insecure, so my FI filters out the probabilities. It just looks at the possibilities of, or maybe they're just trying to recruit me to the CIA and they're actually not trying to hook up with me. Because I think about all the time.
Fear clouds it. And that's the NE thing, is that if there's a possibility that you don't want, then that possibility is going to take up your mind. And that's like SI choosing or like sticking to one possibility.
That's so true. Because I think no matter how scared maybe an SP would be of something, they wouldn't have a clouded perception of it the way mine can just warp. Like, it's like so weird. Like literally I'm like, but like, yeah, well that's like literally my obliviousness when it comes to events. But then when it comes to like, gosh, I don't know how R-rated I want to be, but like I just feel like SEs are just much more aggressive, like just generally. And I think SI users can kind of be,
of course,
like,
we're talking about like sex in the SE episode.
Shut up.
Well,
oh my god, I'm so embarrassed.
Going
Is this appropriate? Is this okay? See, my SE
we were gonna get graphic, but like I think that for me and for like SPs, like even if you're afraid, if you can see what's going on, then it's really easy to just go with it.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was a kid,
I've been with it right now, and I'm like, oh my god, I feel like so self-conscious. I'm talking about sex, and you're like,
you aren't really, but I mean, like I did theater and like choir and everything as a kid. I danced, and I remember always having like kind of a fear before I would go on stage. But then the moment I was on stage, I would just go with it. I would just say my line. Like it's like I feel like SE can be sort of this like exhilarating, like just going with the moment. And if you are with the moment, then it's not scary. Like I remember like my first
Buddhism, so NI, so
my first frat party, like it was like I was like this virgin who never even drank alcohol or whatever. Like it's like I was still able to go in that environment, even though it was like a new environment. Like I was able to like see what was going on, you know, and like I don't know, like
my first frat party was not that way. I like put it off until the end of the semester actually. So for first semester freshman year, I did a single frat party, and then I went and I was just like overwhelmed because it was too loud. There were too many, like there was too much sweat in the air and I could smell it. And like
this is your SI being uncomfortable.
Yeah, and like all the boys, like they were cute in the daytime maybe, but like at night they were like, oh. I'm like, overwhelmed. I felt like I didn't
a good Tinder bio for someone. Don't you think that would be a good?
Wait, what did you?
Don't you think that'd be a good Tinder bio? Cute in the daytime. Wait, you just stopped. Oh no! Wait. Okay.
Oh my god! Yes. Oh, also like, wait, what?
Sorry, like your like image stopped, but like I think it's okay now.
Oh, well, I'm back now. But like every single time I go to a music festival or like a club or a rave, I'm always like, there's this like voice in my head being like, dude, this is such a sham. And I can't like get into the moment. And all my S-user friends, when I go out with them, they're always like, yeah, they're feeling it. And they're like kind of vibing. They're like smiling. They're like, don't you just love this music? And I'm like, oh, well, there's music playing. Like, it's like, I just can't get into it. And I think I'm just one of those NPs who's super in their head. But SPs are like, the people who try to get me out, and I'm like, it's not happening.
Like I
don't
can
know.
feel it in my head too, and the way that I express my SE in the tertiary position is whenever I do try and get myself out of my head, and I really like going to concerts for that reason, to just vibe with whatever's going on. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we're both intuitives, but I feel like I'm way less successful because I don't try as hard to get out of my head. Like, I'll like half-ass it. I'll like go through the motions of, all right, I'm gonna go to this concert. Maybe I'll get out of my head. And I'll be there and be like, am I obligated to like buy a beer? Am I obligated to like enjoy this?
You're not obligated to do anything.
Exactly. But I feel like the sensory world is like forcing me to, which is why I feel like an obligation to like enjoy it. And that sounds really weird, I realize, probably to an SE user, right?
Well, I'd like to talk about that. Why does SE feel forceful? But before we get into this, I've actually been taking a lot of notes, but before we get into that,
right. I was like, what is she writing? And I like faintly was aware of it, but I didn't want to like call out with be like, hey, you're writing. What are you doing? What?
I have notes, but I wanted you to, because before we started recording, you said that you had lots of recent thoughts about SE, and I wanted to let you.
Oh, you mean storytelling
on that?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I can't hear the dogs if you're like, oh my god, the dogs are so loud.
She just jumped on this cooler, but I'm just hoping that she'll be fine. Oh, okay. Anyway.
It's also like SE of you to be like aware of things, because my dog, who doesn't bark ever, he's not mine, he's my roommate's, just like walked over and I'm like, oh, where did you come from? That was so weird. Like that's like how zoned in I am on this sensory thing.
Well, it's funny because for me as an NJ, I am not always aware of the SE, but I have almost like the other sort of paranoid reaction where like if I don't see the dog for a while, I'm like afraid that they're getting into something, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, where are they?
Oh, see, I'm like, weird, and I don't think to have the paranoid reaction. Like,
yeah,
if I don't see something.
But I wanted to let you get on your soapbox about SE for a sec, and I'm going to try my best to not interrupt you, because I know so many of you guys are going to bully me on the internet and say that I interrupt Crystal. And so I'm just going to take notes of things.
That's also SE of you to be like, I anticipate this reaction, though. Wait, are you talking about my original, like, some thoughts on S? Okay, well, yeah, basically.
I guess, sorry, whoops, I'm doing it again. Before I say that, it's like, I would so much rather, though, people start to get the impression that maybe ENFJs are kind of a dick sometimes, as opposed to being like, you're not an ENFJ because you did something that was me.
Yeah, like I think ENFJs can be dicks is really not gonna like they're still gonna just say she's probably mistyped ENTJ for the rest of your life, which I will valiantly say this bitch is not an ENTJ. No, at all.
And I don't think that people really think that, but I guess it's just like that interruption thing, like that is something that ENFJs do. And it's something that I work on, and it's because the FE and SE has such a need to clarify something like at that moment before we move on to something else, because I don't like to have tangents.
They're bossy.
Fucking bossy.
And people are like, they're giving, and I'm like, they're giving and they're bossy at the same time. Like they're giving because they're bossy, and they're bossy because they're giving. Like anyways, so recently, I decided, so like, I had a confrontation with this person I know in my life, and essentially they kind of, I felt cornered because they wanted to know where I was at with the situation we're both in, and essentially they backed me into a corner and were like, what's going on? Like, what's the truth? And I froze, and I realized that maybe not even NTPs, but definitely not SE.
What situation?
A romantic confrontation with a person in my life that, see, I don't want to say it in the SE because my SI is afraid he will.
I think what it is, sorry, this is also your bad SE making it like completely impossible for anyone to understand unless they know the situation.
Yeah, my bad SE does not know enough details that would be incriminating.
I would describe it as a miscommunication with a romantic interest where they both weren't on the same page. Okay, moving on.
There, see, that was perfect. But see, I was just like, try to do that, but can't.
This is how NPs confuse me sometimes, is because they'll like leave out certain SI details that they're uncomfortable sharing, but then the ones that they share, they're so like mismatched that like anyone without that, also the same SI experience would not be able to objectively hear you and know what you mean unless they had NE to guess.
See, like the SE knows how to sum it up like that, but see, I don't know how to sum up the sensory conditions of what's going on with me. So I'm always afraid I always reveal too much, in my opinion, or too little. Mm-hmm. But anyway, and that's kind of how inferior functions, I think, work for extroverts. But anyways, so yeah, a miscommunication with a romantic interest where I essentially was put on the spot. And I had to use SE to try to say where I was at. And I was just like, shit, I can't do this. So then I was writing this.
Did it feel like force?
It felt like if I were to try to use SE and say it like it is, it would feel very inauthentic and non-organic, and I was super sensitive to that. But that's not, like, so that's where bad SE comes in. Like, I feel uncomfortable summing up what's going on because I don't even think it's sensorily valid to have a miscommunication with a romantic interest, because all I can feel is my shame that we had this miscommunication. Like, and I don't feel like admitting that because I'm afraid that then I'll give away everything that's going on with us or something, which isn't true. And I think SE users are like, dude, we're not you. Like, we don't know what happened. But see, at the same time, this miscommunication happened because I assumed he had all the information in my NE brain about what I feel, what I want, and I did not feel the need to be super upfront with it because I assumed it was just super obvious to him and anyone could figure it out by just observing me or something. Like, I assumed I was more open about my feelings on my face or something, like, more than I was. So this miscommunication was actually exacerbated by the fact that as he was talking to me, it dawned on me that he did not know how I felt. He did not know where I was.
I also feel like it dawned on me is also like something that NE and SI users say when they realize SE.
Yeah, no, that's probably true. Like, I'm like,
I don't think I've ever said that.
It dawned on me? You've never said that?
I mean, can you think of me saying it ever?
Well, no, but I don't know. Like, you could have said it when I wasn't around. See, SE users also can kind of like look at me and like know what I'm like when I'm not around, and I always assume people are like different.
Is that more NI though?
Yeah, maybe. Well, I mean, SE and I are connected.
Yeah.
But it dawned on me, and like a horrifying realization of this: he does not know what's going on, does he? And then I was like, so now I have to. And see, that was like bad SE. My NE was like, he's been seeing the same clues that I have been seeing. He's been seeing the same picture that I've been seeing. Wait, he hasn't? And then like it's like SE like just like hits me like, oh no, he doesn't know shit. And now he wants me to explain this, and I don't know how to sum it up somehow with SE and feel comfortable. So then I just literally choked, and I was like, can we talk about this later? And like I don't think an SE user would have done that. They would have just like faced it head on, but I was like literally afraid of the SE fact that my misconceptions and NE of what was going on, and because I had thought he's onto me, he knows everything. Now he's just trying to like corner me to be like, ha, got you, and be a dick. And then I realized as I was sitting there, the SE that was not true at all. That was not probable. And it just overwhelmed me. And this happens a lot, actually. Like, I'll just
I think that part of this is you not knowing what experiences are external and which ones are just internal. Like, since your sensing is SI, you don't really know, like, what information exists in the external world as well. Like, another example of this is, like, sometimes an NFP could be really feeling awkward and assume that awkwardness is, like, very obvious on their face because it's very obvious in your personal experience.
Yes, that's it.
But if you aren't expressing it outwardly, then people might not know. And that's like NFJs are worse at having a poker face for this reason, or really anyone with SE. I mean, not that SE is bad at having a poker face, because I found out that Kat, the ENFJ from Twitter, shout out if you're listening, Queen ENFJ, she literally plays poker. And I always talk about how like ENFJs are bad at poker, but I guess like the reason I say that, yeah,
okay,
it's funny because like I would feel like I'd be bad at it, but like I feel like it could go one of two ways. Like if you have SE, you're either going to be expressing everything on your face, or you're going to be very aware of what information you're giving out and can like.
Yeah, I'm not aware. And when I think I'm being expressive, apparently I'm not. When I think I'm being not expressive, sometimes people can kind of figure out what's going on. And it's just,
something else too is I feel like any SP listening to this would probably be really confused by what you're even talking about and wonder how it has anything to do with SE. And I think that that's because like this, listening to her, like this is the problem that you might run into if you don't have good SE. But anyone with good SE is going to take it for granted and be like, wait, why is she confused?
Yeah.
Anyone with good SE is going to be like, just communicate. I mean, just communicate.
Yeah, no, every single person with better SE than me was like, why didn't you say something? What's the big deal? And every NP was like, I so get why you did that. Even NTPs are like, oh, well, you should have said something, but I get why. It was like
yeah, I know. I feel like NTPs, though, can judge you more because it was your emotions that made you clammed up.
Yeah, and they wouldn't really give a fuck. I like really care about making sense to the sensory world. And I think over time and throughout my life, this means I hold back a lot of things because I just assume people aren't going to understand if I tell them, or they already know, but they don't give a fuck. So
I actually have to pee again. I know I did this last time, but I'm just going to let you do a takeover of.
Okay, yeah.
So just finish talking about what you were saying.
Yeah, and then I'll try to use SE to debrief you on what you missed when I was gone. Anyways, so yeah, like essentially I was tasked with trying to use super rambly SI to clarify what was going on. And the thing about me is also okay, and I also realized that like maybe not all NPs will relate to this, but maybe some of you will. One thing I'm saying about bad SE, I think everyone can though relate to the fact that we didn't even know SE existed until we got into typology, and then we were like, oh wait, some people just see it like it is. Like the phrase "call a spade," I've never known how to use that. Occam's razor, the simplest solution is the most probable. That's so weird to me. And yeah, like I'm more like a Murphy's Law kind of girl where everything that could go wrong will go wrong. But yeah, like, I mean, I feel like so often when people want me to explain something, I feel the pressure to use SE, and then I'll get really rambly with SI, and these details aren't relevant if this SE user is listening, especially if it's an NJ who doesn't have SI, and it's like their blind spot. So then I like think, okay, so I was just basically talking about like phrases SE users use that I don't understand, like call a spade, and that like
that is so SE.
If it has feathers, if it looks like a duck, sounds like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. Fuck that. I don't think that's true. But yeah, okay.
Well, but do you agree that Occam's razor?
Yeah, I actually mentioned Occam's razor.
Okay, yeah.
I think Occam's razor is like SE, maybe anti, but it's definitely SE for sure. Because
I'm very much a proponent.
Like, I think nothing is obvious unless it's like something super NE that I like piece together in a split second. But
I love Occam's razor. Is that how you say it?
I don't know if it's Occam or Occam.
I'm such a huge proponent of it because I think that sometimes if you get so convoluted, like, and I mean, it's not saying that things are without nuance. It's just saying that, like, the farther away you get from, like, the problem or, like, what you see, then, like, the less likely it is to be true. And so I think, like, with the calling a spade, it's like, if it's a spade, it's a spade. But what NE can sometimes do is, like, go from, like, here to here to here to here to here to here to here. And all of a sudden, you're seeing the connection between two things that are completely opposite. And so your solution is opposite, but you don't notice how opposite it is because you see the way that it got there. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Well, in theory, it does. I do not relate at all.
Okay.
And, like, as an NE user, every idea you say is going to make sense to me because I can, like, process them fast. But
it's almost the idea of getting carried away. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
And would you think that NE users understand that concept of, like, oh, you're getting a little bit carried away? Like, have people told you that, or do you think that SE users are that?
Yeah, they have. I always kind of know I am, but I can't stop. But okay, so I think S users, when they say like just do it, I with SI don't believe that that's actually going to change anything about how I feel. Like they'll be like, oh, like once you start exercising, you'll get into a flow of things and you'll be fine. And I'm like, what flow? What are you fucking talking about? I'm still gonna go just as miserable as I do right now, not exercising. Like I just don't believe changing something in the sensory world is gonna actually like affect me. And then I'm always surprised when it actually does.
And this is another thing where NE will like live an experience in their brain and almost think that it's the same thing as doing it. Well, here's another SE thing. Don't knock it till you try it. If you don't know, if you haven't experienced it.
Oh my God, I hate that.
It's like, how do you know if you would enjoy exercising or something? Or like if you were a kid and you were a picky eater and your parents were like, well, how do you know if you don't like this food if you've never tried it before? You know what I mean?
Funny, because I was a picky eater, but I wasn't like a diva about it. I was just like, nah, I don't feel like trying it. And people would like back off because, I don't know. My dad, though, he was an ESFP, and he'd be like, how would you know? And my mom's like, maybe you do, because she's an ESFJ. So people NE won't push me. The people SE will be like, impossible. So,
do you think that NE and SI, that they do sort of know in those scenarios?
I mean, I think so. I mean, okay, well, not an absolute rule of thumb, but they'll at least know maybe more than an SE user because they have enough SI to like parallel from previous experiences. And like, I do think I'm good at knowing my preferences because sometimes I'll just try things just to like be like, maybe that person's right. I should try this food or try this thing. And I'm like, nope, looks like I was right. But that's not like super FI things.
Sorry, a question about that before you move on. Would it be more SI to be like, I don't know if I would like collard greens because I don't like kale? Something like that? Okay.
Yeah. Like, or like, okay, like for example, with like dating and romance, people are always like, you haven't even given him a shot yet. Blah, blah. I'm like, I don't have to. And I don't really feel like apologizing for that because for me, it's like my SI and FI will like parallel.
This is where I think that NPs can be so elitist and like, gosh, I'm losing the word. But anyway, go ahead.
Maybe like uppity. Because I think they are uppity. They're really protective of that instinct. Because it's like one of the few things I think we know we have going for us when we feel like the sensory world doesn't like accept us otherwise.
I'm thinking of a certain word to describe a certain INFP boy who's a Taurus.
Oh my God. I know.
Like, uppity, like arrogant. Like, I don't know what it is. It's just like you think you have everything figured out, but you haven't done anything in your life. Pretentious. That's it.
I think a lot of INFP men are honestly kind of like that, and INFP women are more, I don't know. And INFP men are like, I'm so like intellectual because like I've thought about all of it. And it's funny because INFP men tend to like dislike me because my TE will see through them and call them out for it, and their bad TE won't want to defend themselves. And I'm like, haha, see, you can't be actually that great because I just fucking like. Anyways, I've made a career out of like being rude to INFP men. I need to like get off my uppity high horse. But so what I was saying about the dating thing, I think a lot of people, like anyone with more SE than me is going to be like, oh, like you haven't even given him a shot. And maybe even like people with more FE than me. But for me, because I have FI and SI, I look at my track record of who I've liked in the past and I can automatically compute why I liked them, why I didn't like them, cross-parallel this my database of people that I have gone along with and have given me something. So it comes to like a quick instinct when I meet people, I kind of know right away if we're going to get along or not, in the sense of if I'm going to like you enough to try to keep you around. And every single time I've gone against that instinct, I remember that too and how I was wrong and they actually were a shit person in the end. And
hold on just a second. Stop! There's also
what happened?
Fucking dogs are just like chewing each other. Gross. I'm really sorry.
Oh,
again, it's also SE to maybe try and control. Anyway.
Yeah, like I think SE will sometimes like, especially for you, I don't know if I noticed this with my SP friends, but I'll kind of trail off if I'm saying something and I'm just like, oh, do I have to repeat myself because my SI doesn't
always listening.
Don't even remember. Okay, well, all right, well, anyways, so yeah, like I think for me, my FI and SI will be able to draw on like past parallels to know if I'm going to like someone or something. But it will also know when I don't have any information to know whether I'm going to like something or not, if there's no parallel for it. Like, if it's like a really exotic new like ethnic food that I've never tried and I can't compare it to anything in my database of SI impressions, then I'm not going to know. And then I think SE would be handy and being like, okay, I'm just going to try it. But because I don't have any SI to go off, I'll be like, I don't want to say don't try it, but I want to say try it.
Less scared in those moments when there's nothing to go off of?
I'm super scared in those moments. But I think that's because I don't know if that's all NPs, though. I just know that I'm the kind of person who goes off my SI a lot when it comes to anticipating things and navigating life. So I'll be super aware when I don't have any SI to go off, because I'll know, because I'm scared for some reason.
I just don't like comparing people to other people in the past. I don't like looking at someone and thinking that I know who they are without knowing them and thinking that, oh, they remind me of someone else. Because that really you could really miss out on an opportunity of getting to know a new person that is completely new. And I think
guess that's true, but I'm also like, there's so many fucking people in this world already. It's not like I'm just like skipping out on everyone. So
okay, that's what leads into something I wrote down earlier is opportunistic. I think that SE is opportunistic, and that's why we want to try new things.
That's so true. That's why I don't like SE sometimes, because I would use the word negatively, that I think they're opportunistic, but like in a
bad thing at all. Like,
why ENTJs are so opportunistic, and they're like these Wall Street traders and shit. Like, they're capitalizing on the TE and the SE, and it's so scary.
Well, so here, and also pushing the limits. This is something that
that's so SE.
Taco, shout out to Taco. Hope you're watching. ESTP, who has been a great sport at talking about what SE is on my Facebook page, since there aren't that many SPs that are active. He always talks about how it's about pushing the limits. And I think that looking for opportunities, and it's like in the wild, SE would be the function that is like, we should move over to this other land that we've literally never tapped, because they probably have more prey, more food, more resources. We've never been there before. Where like SI would be like, well, we don't know what that land is like, so why would we go there or something?
My mom and dad for every argument. It's always SE versus SI.
So yeah, like that opportunity, and also like, for example,
also push the limits in bed. Every time I saw an SE user, I'm just like, what?
Because they're actually able to enjoy the experience. They aren't thinking about somebody else or like something else, or like
I don't think about other people, but I definitely like have like a dialogue or a commentary as things are happening. And SEs are like, this is funny, but it's kind of weird. Like, why are you doing that? And I'm like, otherwise, like I can't just be in the moment. It doesn't work like that for me, pal. And they're like, okay.
Yeah, and I think SE just wants to find out for itself. SE is not going to listen to the SI common wisdom of like, well, like vegetables are good for you, or oh, this food is good, or something. Like SE is going to be like, have I tried it? Yes or no? Like, they aren't going to make any like conclusions through like SE and NE to be like, well, I mean, I've had this similar blah, blah, blah. I mean, they'll just know. I mean, it's very instinctual, and I just think it's rude. And I feel like this is like kind of my FE also, but I think it's rude to even, I don't know, like not be able to look at someone fully for who they are, truthfully, while being clinging to like other people you know or something. I don't know. Like,
I mean, that makes sense, I guess, but also like because you don't have SI, you can't relate to. It's kind of just an instinct, kind of like how I can't relate to why SE can just go with the flow and why you want to not protect yourself. It's like because you don't have it. Just I don't see the merits of how SE is going for things, gets them things that I could not even imagine, but that I also don't want. Like, you don't want to miss out, and some people who have SI are okay with that possibility. Mm-hmm. So I think to each their own is how it goes. Because I think S users, like if they are wanting to not miss out and they run into like a bad experience, they're not going to like resent what they did, but I know I resent whenever and I think I also just have instincts that S users don't, and S users have instincts that I don't. So it's actually helpful for them to not try to hold themselves back like SI users do, but SI users shouldn't just be like SE users. I think it is moderation for both, but they shouldn't just be something they're not. I'm not saying you said that. That's just my like super strong rationale for why I'm like, SE wisdom is useful, but I'm not gonna fucking abide by it. And I don't think you said that. But for me, I automatically have to consider how soon I want to abide by it. So
would you agree that, because okay, I'm thinking about how like whenever SE wants you to try something new, or like, oh, like if you're at a concert, like, oh, just enjoy the music or whatever. Like SE just wants you to figure out for yourself, but they aren't ever gonna, I think, push people into doing something that they don't want to do, where sometimes it seems like SI will like assume that one experience is positive for all. Like, oh, everyone loves hot dogs, or everyone loves this.
Yeah, I think SI users do that. Well, SJs do. I think it's because the NI isn't very good. Because I think NI, when you have some of it at any level, you understand how different everyone is. And I think SI will repress that, because also notice how similar everything experience.
I think SE would never push someone to doing something that they don't want to do, but they might seem forceful if they can tell that you're just afraid of it and that you actually have no idea if you like it. But like, for example, you were at a concert and you were with some like very SE person wanting to sit in the front row, and then someone was like, nah, I don't really like that. I'm the sort of person where I like to just stand in the back with a drink, sit down, enjoy the concert that way. Then like no SE user is going to be like, come on, like trying to force you to like use energy. Like no SE user would do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think it's like SE users seem more forceful than they actually are. It's actually the SI users who are really rude and like kind of
let's talk about forcefulness.
Along, you know what I mean?
Yeah, let's talk about forcefulness. Like, why does it seem forceful to you? Be honest.
I can't say why it seems forceful to me. It just does. It seems like SE users don't know how to drop things. Like they'll like work something. They'll milk every last thing out of something.
I think part of the reason I don't know how to drop things. I feel like part of the reasons I don't know how to drop things is, okay, I think that NPs, for example, or anyone that uses NE and SI, they will passive aggressively remove themselves from a situation as opposed to just telling the SE user, stop, I don't want to talk about it. Like, have you tried to tell an SE user to just stop? Because
I have tried to, and I think it's interesting because when I tell gammas, they do drop things. Like my dad is pretty good at it, but you have to tell him, and my family doesn't get that. Besides me, because I use TE too. But when I've told you, and honestly other betas, because it's not just you, which is why I'm not mad about it anymore. I realized it was just a beta thing. If I just say stop, but as a TI, you don't understand why I'm saying that. You like might not use the TE and the SE together of she said stop. And I think a TP might be a little better at saying stop and getting its fellow chaser to stop, because they'll say why kind of in their stop command, but to me saying stop is literally just saying the word stop. Like it's not giving
sometimes where like SE understands its power and NE doesn't, and SE's taking up space and NE thinks that that's being forceful, and NE doesn't have strong enough boundaries to just say go away or to just like remove yourself. Because I've noticed like on the forum, for example, like a lot of SE users will just keep responding to like the same thread. And then they'll just
like want to leave.
I know. And you might think that that's annoying, but like, or that they won't drop it, or, oh, you're still on this or whatever.
Oh, something I've noticed, especially with you, maybe it's because I've learned this since I was a kid, is if someone's talking over me, I kind of stop talking first before, and I don't like try to yell over them. I don't try to push them down. And
I yell.
Yeah, and as users will be like, I want to be heard, and I'm like, it's not that important for me to be heard. I just want this like rating to stop, so I'll be the person to like step back first.
And I wonder how culture plays into that too. And I don't normally think about this sort of stuff because it's sort of SI, but like being raised like Italian American with like a lot of extroverts in my family, like we just all talked over each other. Like that's why I like.
There's so many EJs in your family. It's so weird to me that you're all EJs, basically.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, nobody gets mad for interrupting because it's like if you have a burst of something to say, then it must be important in that moment. And then
it's like a command. Even if with ESJs, they like still they don't grate and wince at SE the way an NP would. So they're gonna be like, all right, I'm gonna talk loud too, like whatever. But in my family, and also in Asian culture, because I'm Chinese American, it's like looked down at to be super loud. And my mom would always talk shit on my dad for being loud, even though he has like so many, like I admire him so much, but it's only because as I grew older, I had more of an intellectual relationship with him, because I think it takes a while for an FP, because he's an ESFP, to like share more of their latent like thinking functions. But my mom is a super thinky ESFJ who would like try to use TI to be like super harsh all the time without any TE to balance it out, so I wouldn't understand it. But
my family was
you have to be submissive, like you're a girl, you're not gonna get a guy. And it's like the antiquated, like super sexist structure too of like China in a different way than America. She was all like, don't be like loud American people, or loud American aka white people. Like we call them Americans, not white people, even though technically like black people are also American, but they refer to white people.
Wouldn't you think though that black Americans would also still be louder than,
you know what
I mean like, or share that culture?
Lived in Portland, there weren't any black people there, so she didn't even know if there were black stereotypes unless she was like watching TV or some shit.
Yeah, and if anyone's seen the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding, even though I'm not Greek, like that forceful sort of environment was very similar to like the Italian environment growing up. I feel like that is kind of SE of like, hey, like the more the merrier, like come on, join us.
It's funny though, because my mom would also point out like my dad was like super popular in our immigrant Asian community, and she was like the most popular people though, so like you shouldn't strive for that, because guys want like a like submissive woman or something. Like it was just like a lot. And like I think as an NE user, because I don't have any SE to kind of pick and choose when I want to be quiet or not, I just had learned the rule of just shut up.
I think the submissive point is really big, and I feel like SI is sort of linked to it in a way, because I think that part of the reason why people think that SE is being forceful is because if an SE user is asserting like the way they see the world, they aren't going to expect you to just accept it. They're going to expect you to fire back with what you think. And so I don't think SE realizes the power it may have over people that are more inclined to just go with it.
Yeah, honestly, I've always been jealous of ESFPs, because I would see some of them like growing up, and I would know that they were similar to me in their charm, but they would just be unafraid to exert themselves, and they're a lot more fun. Like I was living with an ESFP at a convention, and she was the one who was yelling like, "We're gonna have so much fun, guys! Like that's just how it's gonna be. Like you do this, you're not doing this enough. You should do this." Da, 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 da. And like I just like loved it. Like so I could see where her FI was coming from, and how she was looking at everyone as like, oh, like here's what like I feel like the best SE and like FI thing for you to do is. And she was, just so much fun to be around. And I feel like I'm fun in like a one-on-one setting when it comes to like really tapping into the SI of how people work. But I feel like SE is sometimes more useful for like group settings when you want to get everyone's attention at once, because there's a lot of energies in the room.
That's why they're the life of the power of the party. They like force you to inhabit your body and empower yourself to assert your will and have a good time. And they won't.
I'm sure you've seen like when I'm in a group, I clam up definitely a lot more compared to talking one-on-one. I'm like a lot quieter, or I'll like try to like fence myself off and just talk to this person. But unless it's a group where I know every single person and we have our own inside jokes and they know each other, I'm going to feel so uncomfortable, which is why I hated having birthday parties, because I was like, I don't know how to like be the loud one and have everyone give me the attention. I don't like all the attention on me, actually, which is funny because you think I am, because ENFPs are so much fun. But like for me personally, it's too much SE when people are like all looking at me and I choke. Like when the energy is really focused, I think.
I feel like SE, it's not just about listening to your instincts, but it's also about empowering everyone around you to also go with their instincts.
Oh yes, SPs know how to do that, especially feelers with SE, like ENFJs and ESFPs.
Yeah.
With it, and I don't know how they.
Something I do that I think ESFPs also do, that it might be what you're talking about. Like, for example, like if I'm out to brunch with people and if I hear someone say like, oh, are you going to get a mimosa? I'll be like, I don't know. And then I'll be like, do you want one? And they're like, maybe. And you could tell that they're like kind of not sure if that's what the vibe is or whatever. I will be like, oh, you get one. Like, it doesn't matter if I want one. Like, I can tell that they have that instinct. I'm going to be like, do it. Yeah, do it. Or like someone else might be feeling something. And like food or drinks is like a good example, but this can happen in so many different ways where like if you're in a group environment, SE is going to want to sort of push everyone to like sort of take the action that they want. You know what I mean?
That makes sense, actually.
Because you
I don't relate to that, but
care.
I've seen that. I'm like, yeah, I'm too busy living in my own world to like care. I was just like thinking about how I do think I choke and I clam up a lot when a lot of SE energy is focused on me, whether it's multiple energies and multiple people all looking at me when I'm put on the spot to like say something on the spot in front of a crowd, or when it's, you know, like a romantic interest telling me to tell them the truth and it's a lot of like pressure on me. I feel like I crack under pressure.
So what do you I'm sorry.
As much. Like I think SEs are kind of like almost welcome the pressure of like a sensory situation.
The pressure will at least push you in the right direction, even if you don't like it.
Yeah, like I mean maybe that's true, but like
I'm not SE, I mean.
Wait, what?
For SE, I mean.
Yeah, well.
I guess I'm saying that not all SEs welcome it.
Pushes me some.
Sorry, you're breaking up. Oh no, she's breaking up. Come back.
Yeah.
You're breaking up. Oh, she's back. She's back. She's back. You've been breaking up.
Somewhere different than where you've been. I think that's whether it likes it or not, it's different. But I think. Wait, what? Oh, were you frozen?
You've been frozen.
Okay. Well, what I was saying was, I think SLs like they get that core concept. Ugh. It keeps. Hello.
Hi, I can hear you now.
Okay. It keeps saying the connection's unstable, but also it's been a sec. So, but anyways, so I just think SE can appreciate that. No matter what, energy is always pushing you in a certain way in the sensory world. Whether or not they like that, they'll still know that that's a thing. I don't even know it's a thing most of the time. So I'll be like, oh, why is it that telling someone how I feel is actually going to change anything? For me, I'm afraid that everything stays in my head. Even if I let it out, it'll be the same result or something. I'm like really afraid of like reality freezing and nothing ever moving. And I think SE is like, no, things are always changing, always moving in the world.
I think it would be impossible for something to not change if you took an action.
Yeah, well, see, I don't really feel that way because I look back and I just think about like similar themes of actions I've taken that didn't result in an ultimate different.
Well, might not have gotten what you wanted, but at least changed.
That's true, I guess.
So I wanted to know too, we were talking about like that you've seen SE in groups. I'm thinking about in college whenever I was doing like comedy and there was like this massive clique of ENFJs that you knew. And how did that feel to be in like party situations with me and all those other ENFJs?
They were so loud and they would have these like weird inside jokes where they would just like do something dumb like oink, and then everyone would just like think
Wait, oink? Did you say oink?
Ever. Yeah, like they would oink or they would like make it stupid, like they would like start wrestling with each other or like do like slapstick humor, and I was like, fuck, is this funny? Like, I don't know, it was just so overwhelming to be around that many ENFJs and also being around your family too. I know they're not all SE users, but being around that much like presence of like strong sensing, oh my god, like I was just like,
well, here's an SE thing is one of my ENFJ friends in college did a skit where every time there was just like or he wrote lots of skits, and every time there was like a random character that just needed a name, and that their name never mattered to the plot, he just named that character Reichland Pavardi, and everyone thought that was hilarious just because like no one's heard the name Reichland. And then so we would just like come up with random ways of, oh, I bet Reichland's like this, I bet Reichland's like this, like it was more like our NI. But, like, the fact we thought it was funny was, like, because of the name. And I feel like that's something NPs might not get. And I think Portlandia is very much like that. All of the humor in Portlandia is just very NI, or, like, sound effects will just be, like, funnier.
Also, like, I don't know at what point it's also, like, a TI thing versus an FI thing, because we have, like, 2 ways we could be different, SE, SI, or TE, TI.
Well,
like,
me and my INFJ girlfriend literally oink and like make sounds all the time as our humor.
Yeah, no, I picture you guys as like watching an episode of Portlandia or Carrie, and like they're just like, so, and then just make a weird face.
Well, like, something she thinks is funny is like if she's sitting down and then she has to get up, she'll be just like, Huygen! And then we'll just like say that for like different exertion, like it's
what turns you guys on, like you're like, oh, it's almost like
it's almost like we will make sounds almost for SE, since our SE is bad, like gosh, it's like whenever you have to get up or like do something, we'll like make sounds to like
illustrate it. So weird. See, for me, my like idea of a romantic night out with Bae would be if we were just talking about intellectual concepts the whole time, straight face, as if we were friends, and they'd be like, all right, let's go fuck. Like, and it's like for you, like, hey, baby, hey.
I literally probably have ironically hopped up and said boink as a sound effect. Like
this is like, come on, now let's go. I don't know. It's like so weird how like,
I think it's funny to like say things that can be interpreted as the sound effects of my life.
Like just walking in the street, oink, oink. It's so weird. I can't even imagine doing
boink, not oink. I do every time.
Oink like a fucking pig.
No, every time that my dog Gilly is barking because she's a fat pug, she'll like bark and I'll be like oink 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 like at her, and then she'll bark and I'll say oink 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 oink.
Yeah, I've noticed SEs just do this, and I'm like, why is this funny?
I do that while I'm alone too, because I'm just like trying to intimidate her.
Take a picture of an inanimate object and be like, oh, he's thriving. I've seen this as a joke too, as users do, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Wait a minute. Wait, do you think that it's an SE thing to, okay, anyone could talk to their dogs while alone, but do you think that it's like an SE thing to like bark back at your dogs and like get aggressive with them? Because like that's what I'll do. Like when Blue is like, this is our puppy, if she's like in a behind bars, what's the word? If she's like in a kennel or something barking, then I'll like mock her by being like, and then
so weird. Okay, I think it's also like you don't like do that around me because my SE doesn't think it's funny.
Yeah, but I don't do any of my humor around you. Oh no. Oh, you're breaking up. You're breaking up.
Probably not. Maybe it's better this way is what I think. I'm not saying anything anymore.
Oh.
We should maybe wrap this up though, because it's been like an hour and a half, man.
Okay, yeah, we probably should wrap it up. My INFJ girlfriend says that I'm funnier than she expected. I think I only show my SE like whatever.
Yeah, I think anyone that like when you're in a good mood and like just like doing SE shit, it's like interesting, because I think being so close to me has made you more broody and shit, and I'm like, oh, now I know what you do when I'm not around.
I mean, I've literally hopped up and down and been like, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. Like, to my girl.
No fucking ENFJ. Oh my God.
It's just energy.
ENFJ. Too many I love yous would be so triggering. I just want to have like a well-placed one for you to remember for all of eternity.
But it's also like I'm saying, like, also like I'm embodying a character when I say that. Like I'm being serious, but also like ironic.
That's so like NI.
Oh, and I think, okay, what you were saying about pointing out inanimate objects and being like, she's thriving. I feel like we see a lot of humor like that on Twitter these days of people personifying objects. I feel like that's like, all very SE also.
Twitter was like made for like SE and TI users, which is why I'm like, I never have anything funny to say on Twitter.
I also hear like SE and NI users calling inanimate objects like she.
Yeah, like it's like they'll like give a name to this like fucking mug or something. I'm like, what the fuck?
I was like, hi. And then I was drinking a kombucha and I was like really concerned with how it looked because I was just like tired or whatever. And then my INFJ girlfriend said, it's okay that she's ugly. Will you still accept her? Like talking about the kombucha.
I don't get it at all. That's why I'm laughing because I'm like, what the fuck?
But then that's another thing that like then we bring that up multiple times. And she'll say that all the time now. Like if I'm ever like confused with something that's not working, she'll be like, it's okay that she's ugly. Like even if it's just like my coffee maker is not working or something, she'll just say, it's okay that she's ugly. And then now that's just something we say.
It's so weird. SE's kind of cute. But really confusing because I think whenever I see that, I like.
You're breaking up again.
See the NI root. Well, there's something going on here. I think that's our cue to go. I think that's when they like drag you off the stage or start making sound effects for it, like a stand-up comic. You're like, you're talking about man.
I think the common denominator about all of this is that I really do feel like SE is life, like life energy. And that's why I think NI and SE humor is about like embodying different people. You'll notice like different characters, they'll pop into different characters or they'll like make different objects be like personified because SE is all about life and liveliness. And one thing I did want to talk about before we go that we can hopefully try and maybe this will just require a whole other video. But remember the other day on the phone whenever I was telling you about how SE is real and that NE isn't real. And I think we can talk about this more when we get into the NE video. But do you remember that? Remember what we were talking about?
Yeah, I do.
How would you describe that?
I think there are two sides of this. I guess I think of reality as the sensing and the intuition. There's two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
SE is intuitive, so to speak, about things that I don't see. They see things I don't see sometimes. Like they extrapolate meaning from things that I can't.
I think that's NI though. Because what I see is that NE is potential energy and SE is like matter, things that have been manifested. Like, sorry, you're breaking up. God damn it.
NE and SI are connected. SE and NI are connected. So that's probably
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
I was saying, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, are the same thing. So whenever, to me, they're just interchangeable terms. I don't think about how each function is two parts of a whole. So that's why I'm like, I just think about because when I see people using SE, I know they're also using NI at the same time. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you keep breaking up, but how about we just talk about that concept more in the NE video about how NE is like potential energy. It's energy that's not real. So if you're reacting off of NE, you're reacting off something that's not real. And I'm not saying that what you're that you shouldn't be reacting off of that, but what you're doing is you're reacting off of potential and you are accessing creative energy. Yes.
Real yet. Yeah.
Yes. It could be real, but it's not real yet. It's always reacting off of a possibility, and that is the creative process in so many ways. NE is the creative process. But
it's like
NEs also can be delusional.
NE, you have to use NE to kind of make new SE stuff. There's a difference between, Cool. Okay, let's like leave it at that.
Okay, well, sorry if if it seemed like we got a little off topic. I guess this really was just us sort of talking about SE better.
Mukbang for SE.
Yeah, rather than, I mean, comment below what sort of questions you have, because I guess I wish that we would have done a better job of like explaining what it is, or like helping people who aren't sure if they use this or NE understand. But hopefully you can glean something just from sort of watching us too, and also hearing us talk about it. Anything else you want to add? She's gone. So, okay. Sorry about all that. Thank you for watching. Please join my Facebook group that I will link below.
That reminds me.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. She's gone. Join my Facebook.
That just reminds me of the NI video, which I'm not going to see.
Sorry, I have not heard a word you're saying. So I just was talking over you while your little image was there. So thank you for watching. Comment below. We're going to start doing this more often. Join my Facebook group. Yeah. Bye. Say bye because you're moving. Bye.